My name is Robert Stasko, and I am the CEO of Science Concepts International, a boutique consulting company that basically focuses on emerging energy technology, smart grid, and sustainable transportation. And I'm the organizer of this conference right here that you see on Hydrail and the wireless electrification of rail. We've had a very successful conference thus far, and we've had 120 people who've registered. An awful lot of lively dialogue, and we sense some consensus around next steps in terms of developing this technology here in Ontario.
We've got a serious carbon issue in the world today, 2013, getting worse, not better, and a good bit of that carbon is dumped into the atmosphere because of out-of-date surface transportation, and Hydrail clearly provides both an efficient and an environmentally attractive option to the carbonized trains and planes and automobiles and trucks of yesterday.
About 1/3 of the total energy that's used is used in transportation. You would have heard, if you listened to my talk this morning, that we have to reduce worldwide the emissions of carbon dioxide by about 60%, which means for the developed world about 80% or better. And so if 1/3 of it's coming from transportation, which is overwhelmingly carbon-based, then clearly you've got to somehow get transportation substantially off the carbon-based fuel, oil predominantly. So you've got to do other things as well. You've got to replace coal-fired electricity, and if you don't handle the transport sector, then you're not going to get the kind of reduction. All you're going to do is to slow the build-up of CO2. And we perhaps have already reached a level of CO2 which is going to be hugely damaging. The question is whether we've got to a high enough level that we'll actually end up with positive feedback and a runaway situation. But just slowing the build-up of CO2 in itself is quite inadequate. So you've got to somehow tackle the transport sector. And hydrogen is a very attractive way of doing this. For some things, like vehicles, batteries may do the job. But for heavy-duty things like trains, and when you have the presentations this afternoon, it just doesn't work. So trains, ships, perhaps ultimately planes, can be fueled with hydrogen. And hydrogen can be made in ways that don't emit CO2. So it's an essential, to my mind, component of getting us off carbon emitting.
Hydrogen trains offer an opportunity to begin to build out that infrastructure and to achieve economies of scale in a somewhat profitable manner. You've got fixed routes, you've got fixed demand, so you know how much hydrogen you're going to need, you know where you're going to need that, and you can do it by providing transportation for a large number of people. And so, you know, those are the basics for some plausible, profitable hydrogen supply system. Once you establish that, stepping to a slightly more distributed distribution infrastructure is much easier done, rather than trying to jump forward and do cars first, where you need a station on every corner, in every town, in every place, not to mention the cars themselves. So trains are just a natural evolution in the process of a transitioning energy infrastructure.
In the long run, hydrogen is the ultimate fuel, and there are certain applications that have to be the ones that break the barrier, and I believe that hydrogen trains is that application.
Electrification of rail transport and transit is certainly the goal in terms of efficiency, and if we can avoid the cost of overhead catenary systems and have onboard propulsion, then that is clearly a goal. If we can have that coming from a source that is completely and utterly clean, that's got to be the ultimate.
Today we continue to use diesel and expensive overhead catenary systems for electric trains, and the Hydrail solution is by far a better business proposition.
Well, Canada's really far behind on innovative transportation methods. We're not the most dense country in the world, so we haven't been pushed like other countries to try and innovate and create more change. And we're really at the cusp of opportunity here because there's new infrastructure projects going in the GTA area, there's new infrastructure projects in Ottawa and Montreal, and we're at the point where we can make decisions about jumping to the latest technology and being able to build it locally.
At the present, it's very difficult to justify electrifying the rail link that goes from Union Station to Pearson. And many people in in the communities along that corridor are upset about the fact that many diesel trains will be running on the corridor. Today we found out that to electrify that corridor would cost $400 million, and that there is no budget for it. And then no anytime soon that the government could actually fund this conversion. Our technology actually does away with overhead wires, it does away with transformers and infrastructure, it puts everything on board much cheaper, and it could be done in time for the Pan Am Games in 2015. So we think there's an excellent business case, an excellent case for reducing GHG gas, and an excellent case for keeping urban air quality at a much better level.
From a Canadian perspective, we have the technology available here, and it's being built here by Canadian companies, and even more, it's even in the Ontario region, more so than anywhere else.
It's a great Ontario solution because we have a surplus of off-peak and renewable energy that presently is being unused or given away for free. We also have manufacturers here in Ontario that are capable of putting together alternate technologies that make use of the stored energy and onboard storage solutions using hydrogen and utility-grade batteries. We also have here in Ontario a desperate need for advanced technologies that we can export to other jurisdictions using local content and create local jobs. To build a coalition of stakeholders who actually want to come together and build a project around a prototype Hydrail locomotive here in Ontario based on our own technology and addressing our own needs. And this is not a big challenge. The challenge is awareness, and the challenge is bringing together the right team, and I think we could start up doing that today.
We really need to have vendors of the equipment come together and work together with those who want to have these projects installed and to come up with a common set of high-level standards. This is what we agree should happen and should be. Because right now what's happening is the vendors are trying to sell one sort of thing, one sort of solution, and the governments are stuck with a lot of people saying, we won't do anything unless it's proven, so show us. And this is never going to break unless you have a solution like I just said.
I think it's quite obvious that one needs to have demonstrations, and we're very close to that. I mean, there are already some demonstrations. The problem perhaps is that they're still in the demonstration phase. They're not yet in a, well, this train runs every minute and a half, and it's totally reliable, and we've been running it for 2 years, and there's no problems whatsoever. It's an exciting time, actually, because I think we're very close to a point where we can actually say that yes, this is a genuine alternative, rather than what we were hearing from the Metrolinx person this afternoon, where she was basically saying, but it's not proven yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're getting there.
We desperately need the attention of major OEM, rail car, and locomotive producers to embrace and understand the value proposition that exists here and the business models that would support Hydrail. If we can have some healthy demonstrations, well supported with credible partners, I think this is going to go a long way fast.
Get original equipment manufacturers together and get them on board so that we can eliminate some of the barriers that might crop up later. And we're going to be able to show transit organizations this is the wired one and this is the unwired one. Which one do you want to do? So that they'll actually have something to see and be able to say, well, I want that.
The most important step, previously, present, and in the future, is to get the media to make the existence of Hydrail apparent to the general public, because no one else can move it forward. It has to be in the public domain or nothing can happen. Politicians can't touch it unless it's in the public domain. Companies can't touch it. Government staffs can't touch it. Until it gets into the public domain, everything is frozen. It's been frozen for 10 years. It needs to be thought out.
Why is it important to have conferences such as this that bring people together to talk about these issues?
Because no one else is doing it. Because the diversity of people that we have at this conference is almost unique. It's something where we cross so many disciplines. We have railway people, electrical people, hydrogen people, people who are into public planning and urban planning. It has such a wide range of interests that unless someone sees the vision of where you're going with this and can challenge and create this sort of opportunity, opportunity. It'll never happen.
It was important to bring everybody together for this event because all previous meetings were in other jurisdictions in Europe or in the US, and yet the opportunity right here in Ontario happens to be the most compelling. And so we were very pleased that we were allowed to actually host this conference this year at a time when it will be pivotal for some solutions that we're going to make soon that will have an impact far into the future in terms of sustainable transportation.
Events today bring the people together who can get the word out, who can act on the word, and who can be reassured by the fact that other people are working on it.
I think that now is the ideal time to promote renewable sources of energy and promote energy saving options. As engineers, now we also have a responsibility towards building a more sustainable future. So I would say that with the current buzz of sustainability moving around, I do feel that students now are more interested in this, and we do obviously all the time think about more sustainable options with the inclusion of, say, cost benefits and stuff like that.
Je peux dire que les étudiants en ce moment sont très passionnés. C'est des gens qui sont extrêmement motivés de sortir dans le monde du travail et de faire une différence. Donc, on essaie vraiment de trouver des nouvelles solutions. Puis, on en discute, puis on a hâte de les partager avec vous. Donc, on a une génération qui a été éduquée à essayer de réduire le plus possible les effets négatifs sur l'environnement. Puis, on a été sensibilisés à ces problèmes qui touchent tout le monde au fond. Donc, je pense vraiment que la nouvelle génération va pouvoir aider la situation.